a passenger aircraft cruising at 3,000 meters was struck by lightning and broke apart mid-air. Of the 92 people on board, only one 17-year-old girl survived the crash. She then survived 11 days alone in the Amazon rainforest. December 24th, 1971, 11:40 a.m. Lanza Flight 508 departed from Lima, the capital of Peru, crossing the Andes mountain range deep into the heart of the Amazon basin. The flight carried 86 passengers and a crew of 6. It was meant to be a short 1-hour trip. The first 20 minutes were smooth. Everything seemed perfectly normal, but as the plane crossed the mountains and approached the Amazon rainforest, the weather changed suddenly, and massive storm clouds blanketed the sky, and a fierce storm formed rapidly. Lanza Airlines already had a notoriously poor reputation, serious safety concerns, and a history of prior accidents. It was not well regarded within the aviation industry, but with the Christmas travel rush in full swing, every other flight was fully booked. 17-year-old Julianne and her mother, Maria, had no choice but to board this aging aircraft to reach the Panguana research station deep in the rainforest, where they were to reunite with her father, a biologist working there, to celebrate Christmas together. Facing the sudden extreme thunderstorm, the crew, and unwilling to delay the flight, made the reckless decision to fly straight through the core rather than turn back or reroute. At 12:36 p.m., while flying at an altitude of 3,100 meters, struck the plane's right wing with deadly precision. The fuel tank exploded violently, tearing the fuselage apart. The entire aircraft disintegrated in midair, and everyone on board was instantly ejected from the cabin. 17-year-old Julianne survived because she had kept her seatbelt tightly fastened, was thrown from the plane, still strapped to her row of 3 seats. From 3,000 meters up, she plummeted at roughly 160 kilometers per hour. The violent winds and sheer terror caused her to lose consciousness immediately. She ultimately crashed into the dense primeval Amazon rainforest, becoming the sole survivor of the disaster. What most people would consider an unsurvivable fall resulted in a miracle, thanks to 3 layers of physical cushioning. First, the seat's spinning descent. Once the row of seats separated from the fuselage, it spun downward like a maple seed, greatly reducing the vertical acceleration of the fall and avoiding the lethal impact of a straight free fall. Second, warm air currents rising above the rainforest formed a natural cushion, further slowing the downward momentum. And the most critical factor of all was the Amazon rainforest's layered triple canopy. Its dense network of branches and vines formed a natural safety net, absorbing and dispersing the force of the impact and shielding Julianne as she fell unconscious. On the morning of Christmas Day, December 25th, Julianne woke up in the mud of the rainforest. Despite serious injuries, including a broken collarbone, a deep laceration on her right arm, and torn knee ligaments, with cuts and bruises all over her body, she was still conscious and barely able to stand. But the true fight for survival had only just begun. She found herself deep inside what is known as the Green Hell, the Amazon, surrounded by venomous snakes, danger lurking at every turn. Around her were only wreckage and the dead. After searching in vain for her mother and other survivors, she accepted the grim reality that she was completely on her own. Fortunately, growing up alongside her biologist parents, she had absorbed deep knowledge, and that knowledge became her only lifeline. She remembered her father's teachings. If you're lost in the rainforest, don't wander aimlessly. Just follow a stream downhill. Every small stream eventually joins a larger river, and human settlements are almost always built along rivers. Holding on to that belief, Julianne steadily followed the waterway forward. To avoid the threats of land predators and insects, she deliberately walked in the water. On the 4th day after the crash, she clearly heard the roar of a Peruvian Air Force search and rescue plane. But the thick rainforest canopy blanketing the sky concealed her from view, and the rescue team was never able to spot her. After several unsuccessful searches, the rescue team ultimately concluded that all aboard and called off the operation. By the 8th day, the wound on Julianne's upper arm, soaked by the humid rain, infested with maggots. The wound was rotting, and she faced a very real risk of dying from sepsis. Exhausted but refusing to give up, Julianne discovered an abandoned hut and a small boat by the river. After finding a can of fuel, she gritted her teeth through the agony and poured the fuel directly into the festering wound, using oxygen deprivation to kill the maggots, completing a brutal act of self-treatment. January 3rd, 1972. 11 days after the crash, 3 local loggers discovered Julianne by the riverbank, covered in mud and wounds. The loggers immediately came to her aid and took her to a nearby village clinic for treatment. After 11 days of fighting to survive, Julianne was finally reunited safely with her father. Behind this remarkable miracle lies a heartbreaking and cruel truth. Subsequent investigation confirmed that 15 passengers, including Julianne's mother, had also survived the fall from altitude. But they lacked the wilderness survival skills and the knowledge to save themselves, and could only wait passively in the jungle for help that never came. They eventually succumbed to their injuries, infections, and the elements. Of the 92 people on that flight, only 17-year-old Julianne defied what should have been certain death. After surviving the ordeal, Julianne carried this extraordinary experience with her as she moved forward in life. She returned to Germany to pursue her doctorate in biology and became an accomplished researcher and scientist. She devoted her life to the conservation of the Amazon rainforest, spending her life protecting the land that was both and brutal, the one that gave her a second chance at life. In 2015, acclaimed director collaborated with Julianne to create the documentary Wings of Hope, offering a complete account of this extraordinary survival story. That's all for today's story. See you in the next one.